You're listening to Soap Dirt, the latest in television entertainment news.
Hey Days fans, it's Belinda from Soap Dirt, and today I want to discuss why I think Eric Brady and Nicole Walker are endgame and headed for a reconciliation. Let's dig into 5 reasons Eric Cole could be meant to be happily ever after, and Sloan and EJ may be just rest stops on the path to them getting back together. First, please click subscribe if you haven't, and now let's talk about my 5 reasons. So, number 1 is that EJ seems to be endgame with Sami Brady, right? Not Nicole. I mean, I know a lot of fans are torn on EJOL versus EJammy, using our smush names. People have very strong opinions whether EJ should be with Nicole or Sami. He's definitely been torn between these two women off and on, but Eric has pretty much been largely devoted to Nicole. Eric is only with Sloan now because he can't have Nicole. He made that very clear to his mama, Marlena, in one of their conversations. And we saw that he only decided to go and marry Sloan right away after he found out Nicole was going to be EJ's wife, because it was eating at him. It was definitely a revenge wedding on Eric's part for him to put a ring on Sloan's finger. I don't think he really loves her. I mean, I think he's a loving person in general, and so I think he cares about her, but in terms of deep love, endgame, happily ever after, nah, Sloan is not it for Eric. Meanwhile, EJ was absolutely crazy about Sami, but then the whole thing came up with Lucas kidnapping her and framing EJ. That screwed them up. Some of her lying, as usual, screwed them up. Sami catching EJ banging her sister screwed them up just a little bit. And if not for all these stunts, EJ might have stayed with Sami and he'd never even be back on the market to get with Nicole, much less to marry her. All right, my number 2 reason is Eric and Nicole are both fighting their feelings for each other. We've seen this and we've heard them say it to other people. Nicole told Marlena that when she found out she was pregnant, she was really scared and she was thinking she would have the baby if it was Eric's kid, and then briefly thought about aborting it if it was EJ's kid. Can you imagine if EJ heard that conversation or read Marlena's note she was taking? And Nicole thought that and said that even though she and EJ have never had a kid survive that the two of them made. They've lost a total of 3 now, if you include the baby that's really not dead. So it was interesting because Nicole was willing to put herself through the stress of it for Eric, but not EJ. But then she found out EJ was the dad, supposedly. Then she had this change of heart and decided to go ahead with the pregnancy. But it's clear that both Eric and Nicole still have very strong feelings for each other that they've had for, a couple of decades. Their current marriages aside, Nicole is turning to Eric for comfort, and he's comforting her in a way that EJ is not. EJ is out trying to burn down everything and everyone he thinks is responsible for what happened to Holly, and he's kind of being a bit bossy with her. Nicole doesn't like that, and Eric is just being like a big security blanket, a totally different vibe. All right, number 3. The reason I think they're in game is I think Eric would still be with Nicole if he hadn't dropped the ball a few times. He left town and left her behind more than once. The first time he told Nicole he'd always love her, and then he hit the road out of Salem, but came back in 2012 with a priest collar around his neck. Despite the collar, Nicole started falling for him. It was all very Thornbirds to me. And he was slowly, very slowly falling for her too. First as a friend, and then definitely as far more than a friend. But then things always got rough for them, like when he accused her of drugging and raping him, even though it was EJ DiMera that did it. I mean, that's kind of a hard pill to swallow. When the truth came out, Nicole would not accept Eric's apology because it just hurt her feelings so much that not only did she tell him, but he just wouldn't believe it. And then only when evidence proved otherwise did he. Eventually, though, Nicole and Eric found their way back to each other, but as always, they managed to screw it up again. And it wasn't just Eric screwing up things. So my number 4 reason for them to be endgame is, they'd likely still be together if not for some of the dirty things that Nicole did. Remember when she shredded those papers that confirmed that Eric had been drugged and raped and did not intentionally break his vows? So the priesthood would have taken him back, but Nicole wanted him for herself. And so she tore up the evidence and ditched it. And, that would have exonerated him in the church's eyes. And when Eric found out, he was furious and he dumped her. And of course, Nicole also fornicated with Xander when Eric kept traveling. That was when they had finally gotten married. Remember the whole Xander talking about birds of a feather want to flock together, and then he said, want to flock. And that all came out at Eric and Nicole's anniversary party. Xander showed up and spilled the tea because Sami asked him to. And he said that Eric left his wife alone too long. So Xander took care of satisfying her in his absence. And of course, Eric, if I recall correctly, punched Xander, flipped out, and then walked out on Nicole again. And that go round, the only reason Eric wound up in bed with Nicole was all those drugged up biscuits. But, maybe those drugs just revealed their true desire, which is to be together and not with Sloan and EJ. So the 5th and final reason, a huge reason Eric and Nicole may be endgame, is that they finally have a child together, even though they don't know it yet. I do suspect it's going to be a while yet before they know the truth. Remember, Eric's daughter, Mackenzie, with Sarah Horton, died just after birth because of the car crash. And Jada got pregnant by him, but then had an abortion last year. And then Sloan got pregnant, but miscarried. That was several months ago. That was in 2023 as well. So Eric has had just one baby heartbreak after another. And for that matter, so is Nicole. She lost 2 babies with EJ before. And right now she thinks that their last baby died, even though that's her and Eric's baby that Sloan and Eric are raising, not her and EJ's baby. That is definitely Eric and Nicole's son, baby Jude Brady, as he's being called for right now. Once all the air clears, Eric's going to find out Sloan stole Nicole's baby, and that's going to end his marriage to the unlucky lady lawyer. Then that baby will likely go back to Nicole and EJ, which could push Eric further away from Nicole out of guilt for what Sloan did. And then I suspect that the fact it's really Eric's kid will come out later. I think EJ is going to look in that envelope in the safe, see the truth, see that it's Eric's kid, and do what Sloan should have done and shred that paternity result. Eventually, though, it's all going to come out. And once it does, I see an Eric and Nicole reunion ahead. And maybe, just maybe, their love will last this time around. Be sure to click subscribe if you haven't already. Definitely drop your comments on whether you think Eric and Nicole might be endgame or whether you prefer her with EJ. Drop your comments. Be sure and come back soon because we are here talking Days of Our Lives 7 days a week. And as always, it is Belinda from Soap Dirt. Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you for being a loyal listener. Follow us wherever you get your podcast because you don't want to miss the next episode. Soap Dirt is on all the major podcast platforms, including Apple Podcast, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and more.